Today I want to make a video about mob mentality in UFC and MMA. I'm scrolling on my feed, Beowulf MMA on Instagram. I see this petition from a meme page that I really like called Tony Has Died. He is also a YouTube content creator. He started a petition to strip Jon Jones of his UFC heavyweight belt. It has 18,000 people co-signed onto this mission that they have to take the gold from Jon Jones and to put it on Tom Aspinall since he refuses to fight him. And I really think that we need to chill out. There's been a lot of different bandwagons loaded up around negative causes that don't net us any progress towards getting the fights that we want or progressing the sport, which is ultimately what we all desire. And I think we need to chill out. That's my honest opinion. So today I'm going to be talking about the implications of not thinking individually and just hurting with a group of people who don't even care about this sport. The first topic is going to be how bad we've been doing Dana White online. I don't think that it's been fair at all. We don't actually hate Dana White. It's just a joke. Dana and the TKO promotion, they're out of the build-up for Crawford and Canelo. The event will take place on the same day as UFC 320. They were removed from the promoting by Turki Al-Sheikh. So people are attempting to interpret this as Dana failing to maintain a good relationship with Turki and getting kicked to the curb. My question is this: even if he did, what does that matter for MMA? And wouldn't people be happy for the fact that he's no longer involved if we want this guy to just be all about our combat sport? He could definitely do more, Dana White, and the fights could be built and marketed better, but what is Dana doing to directly poison the UFC? If he's under-promoting his athletes, which I do agree to some level, he's not giving certain ones special treatment. The Sean O'Malley card is happening. We're on 316 now. It's going to happen. Sean O'Malley is one of the bigger pay-per-view draws that they have. He's going to fight Merab, and people don't even know that it's happening yet. So we're usually given about 2 weeks of hype for every single build-up, no matter what it is. And it's just whoever is fighting that makes that 2 weeks more significant. And it's been like this forever, it feels like. So I don't know why people are now just starting to take issue with it. People point the finger at him for all the shortcomings of the promotion and really only blame him for the things that popular influencers or dudes in the IG comment sections blame him for. And only those things, like the Tom Aspinall ducking stuff, or Ilya Topuria, or how he's handling Makhachev in 170. It's just the mouthpieces of the entire community on the internet who get on and they influence, because that's their job, and they're very successful at doing this because people can't think past the assertions that they make in their videos. The result of this is people acting like Dana White is just a figurehead for the promotion in 2025, and like Bruce Buffer works more than he does, when we see Dana White all the time. Hunter Campbell and Sean Shelby have been mentioned a lot over the years since quarantine, but who is at the pressers and who is cutting promos on Instagram? It's Dana. Every single time, every week. That picture at the bottom right corner has been what's pissing people off lately, and it honestly kind of made me a little bit fired up when I saw it, but I'm relieved by the fact that this isn't something that he's going to be closely dealing with as we're moving towards very important fight cards. I know about what Hunter Campbell looked like going into this, but I had actually never seen what Sean Shelby looked like before. Or for all the times that I was looking directly at him at weigh-ins, I didn't notice like who he was. Whenever people would say, "Thank you, Sean Shelby, for getting this matchup," that's who they're talking about. It's him. It's that guy right there in the black hat. There's a loss of individuality that takes place. You don't hate Dana White, but you hate Dana White because your favorite MMA YouTube guy does. I find that there are significantly less people in this community versus other sports who seem to be internally questioning, what do I think about this? The fan base selects an MMA YouTube guy and just becomes a bot who only thinks what they think in public and online. And that's why we're seeing that comment sections are just dudes who are vomiting the same 4 points from MMA guru Lucas Tracy and Bedtime MMA. And they either circle jerk with other fans who think the same thing, or they fight with each other over ideas that they didn't even have initially themselves, with like their own internal dialogue. They had some guy put these ideas like the Black Ops 1 campaign. They got Victor Reznov and psyoped into believing what some basement dweller thinks. What do we matter? What do we really matter? As soon as any news breaks in the community, people are flocking to the internet to get some opinion from a dude who has the same amount of fighting experience as them. As far as proximity to the sport, Bedtime MMA is an exception. These guys do watch a lot of fights, but a lot of them don't even train. So any of your favorite MMA YouTubers, they're not contracted to work for the UFC. I'm not contracted to work for the UFC. I work for myself in this whole thing. So whatever take that they give or I give, it's pertaining to the way that things are through their worldview and the way that they think that things should be. And this is all through a limited understanding of the moving parts that are happening behind the scenes. As content creators, we only react to official news. Even Ariel Helwani, he has seniority over all of us in this game since he's been reporting on MMA for so long. We still don't trust him as an official news source whenever he breaks news on Twitter or whatever. We only really know what Dana tells us. So a lot of the content as far as news coverage goes, it's never preemptive. It's just responding to what we're informed of by the organization. So what do you think about it? Because I know what all of these content creators think because I'm on my MMA page on Instagram and I'm looking at these comment sections and I just see what they're talking about in their videos there. I took some screenshots from Instagram posts that I saw in the comments under them, mate. There was this one that was talking about Merab is the best bantamweight right now ever. And this guy under with the most likes was talking about genuinely crazy that people would take Dillashaw over the guy who whooped Jan, Sean, Cejudo, Aldo, Umar, and others. And one of the first Clockwork Orange brainwashing sessions that I ever had whenever I was getting into the sport was talking with my friend about how I should never show favor to TJ Dillashaw for the fact that he cheated. And if you really did look at those styles, I've said before that I think that TJ Dillashaw in his prime could probably beat Merab. And I don't think that that's a dumb thing to believe. And this guy is going to try to make you believe that it is just because of hype and that herd mentality. Merab's got a few wins where he does look impressive, but not invincible. And a guy like TJ Dillashaw, who has clinical wrestling defense and very strong boxing, is a guy who I would favor to win. And it's not stupid for me to think that that is like something that could be tangible. And to call him the best bantamweight ever right now is just a way of building up the fight. And I really think that he more so means that Merab is the best bantamweight right now because Sean O'Malley is his fighter, so he would never root against him to get the belt. Like, guys just on the internet, they just like to glaze, bro. And if Merab had lost his belt to Umar, then what would any of those performances have meant to this guy who commented? Nothing. This is just some more general Ilia Topuria glaze, man. I don't see how these fans can see the reposts of Charles Oliveira getting walked down against the cage by Chandler and eating bombs that he's not going to be able to take from Ilia Topuria, not moving his head off the center line, going in a straight direction backwards. And they'll still say things like, yeah, Charles can do it, man. He just got to come out aggressive, and then he can get the takedown, and then he can sub him. Like, they don't know that Ilia came up as a grappler, and that's not a sound path to victory for Charles, because it's a possibility that he could get tied up down there. He's a taller man. Depending on Ilia Topuria's grappling style, it may be better geared towards wrestling taller opponents. So it could be a very easy fight for him to win, and people aren't thinking critically. It's just, oh, I like Charles, so yes, I'm going to pick Charles. And then this guy here, he put a Brazilian flag at the end of his glaze comment for Charles, and I looked at his profile. He's not even Brazilian. And I don't have anybody's name here just because I'm not trying to, like, call anyone out, but this is just an overarching problem in our fan base, dude. I went on to ESPN MMA. That's where I was looking at a lot of this stuff from. They posted something about John Jones faking his retirement in 2023 because he does that. He's just a troll online. And under that, the top comment was the petition. Go sign my petition to strip John Jones of the title. And then everyone else just wants to put GIFs. And they don't even want to have a discourse about anything that's happening in the sport. They just want to put duck emojis and send GIFs. And the GIFs thing, it's like everything. You can't speak critically of a single champion without some guy just putting a GIF in the comment section of that champ. Just on some complete and total glaze. And it's like, you're not even an individual. You're not your own person. You're this guy's groupie. You're a groupie. The worst is whenever you critique a fighter's ability to compete in the octagon, and they start talking about, oh, well, he's more successful and has more money than you will ever have. Or he drives a Mercedes AMG. What about you? It's like, dude, I just said that he could have probably defended the takedown a little bit better in the fourth round. It's like, are you going to climb off of his nuts, or are you going to, like, hope to stay there long enough to build a fortress so you never have to leave? The worst of it, though, is the Ian Gary slander. He said on the Ariel Helwani show that the UFC are going to call me, and I'm going to say yes to whoever they give me. I thought that Sean Brady would sit and wait, but he's not that guy, so let's go. And then one of the top comments under the post was, fuck yeah, I hope Ian Gary gets a dose of humility from this man. But I've been waiting on that for a while now, so we'll see, LOL. Not even taking a second to evaluate this matchup, Ian Gary almost subbed Shavkat. He He's a very good grappler, and he's demonstrated that again against Prates in the way that he was able to keep himself safe in a very gassed out state after he had even eaten some pretty big shots off of Carlos Prates as well. Striking, he has knockouts in the UFC. D-Rod, he got up out of there with the high kick. He has knockouts with his hands too. Very diverse strike arsenal. He showed high-level technical skill in his last fight. Sean Brady got walk-off TKO'd by Bilal Muhammad. So it's not a slam dunk for either fighter. That's the reason why the Shark Tank that welterweight is right now is so entertaining, is because none of these fights have guaranteed outcomes. We don't know what is going to happen in these fights. But to rule out a guy just because you heard from a YouTuber that he likes to let dudes sleep with his wife, and it has nothing to do with his ability to fight for 25 minutes on a main event, it doesn't make any sense. I don't understand what we're doing here. The importance that's being placed on things that don't have anything to do with fighting in this community, it blows my mind. It's almost like we don't even want to watch fights, and we just want to like posts and send gifts, bro. So now we'll talk about Jones versus Aspinall. I really don't think that people understand how much the UFC needs Jones even while Aspinall is around. The heavyweight top 5 has had no mobility in the last 3 years, and Jon Jones leaving would make Tom Aspinall an illegitimate champion if they never fought, because Jon Jones ducked. And the reason why I'm saying ducked is because I don't think that he's ducking, and I think that this fight is going to happen. If it is on some stuff like that, that is completely out of Tom Aspinall's control, but it just doesn't look like it. Jon Jones always ends up fighting, so if he and Tom Aspinall fought right now and Tom Aspinall knocked his ass out, and you're all happy, and we're all cheering Tom Aspinall, woo, yeah, Tommy Aspinall. His first defense is going to be against Gane, and then Almeida after that, and then a Volkov rematch. And then if he never loses, there's nothing for him. There's nothing left for him to do in this division. And either he goes on a Jon Jones run, or retires having learned lessons from Jon to not just stick around and hold up the division, or he becomes the thing that he hates the most, and is just a very inactive champion who needs to wait for things to happen in the division so his title fights actually make sense. And more specifically, he has more than one contender, because Tom Aspinall is the only contender for the belt. So they have one big fight at heavyweight and then a bunch of shit afterwards. So they have to be very calculated in how they use this one good fight, because they know it can generate a lot of money, and they don't want to waste it or let it go, but they want to also do it properly so that they can make the most amount of money from it. And I don't understand why that's such a hard concept for us to understand. They couldn't just throw together Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall to save UFC 317. There's no way that they could have done that. It would have been nice, but they need to build hype for it, and they need to make the event meaningful. Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall is like the GTA 6 of all fights that the UFC could make in 2025. The timing of this matchup is everything. So please understand that a fight with Tom Aspinall and Jon Jones is the only thing that we have to look forward to at heavyweight. And once that happens, everything that happened afterwards is lame or something that we've already seen before. Heavyweight division is worse than flyweight. And that really speaks volumes about the state that it's in right now, because flyweight is cancerous. Next, we can talk about Jones' behavior. He's out in Thailand getting higher than the behemoth, shooting Russian tough. And he isn't the president. And when has this type of behavior out of him not been cool with the UFC? I would never make concessions for Jon Jones being the way that he is, but he's a fighter, mate. I'm not looking to him to be like, okay, inspire me to be a better person, Jon, because I look to you for that type of wisdom. I don't ever look to any of these fighters for how to be a better person. It's just sometimes they'll end up saying something smart and I'll agree with it. Otherwise, I'm not really trying to crack these fortune cookies open and model my life after the lives of these fighting men. I just won't do it. Especially now with the more lax recreational drug policies, I bet a lot of fighters are getting geeked off screen. I follow underground rap, so I'm used to seeing dudes being this high, bro. I like Famous Dex in 2017. I don't think it's like Jon Jones has overruled negotiations with Dana White by buying himself some more time with the tough season. I genuinely think that he was allowed to do this by Dana White, and this fight is done with him and Tom Aspinall. It's just that the specifics of when and where it's supposed to happen is not revealed to us, so we don't know. And the reason why I'm harping on this fight being super important and probably having years of planning behind it is because Jon Jones being on the roster maintains general hype for the organization. People know who Jon Bones Jones is. If you go into a group of people and you say Bones Jones, do you know who that is? If they're within a certain age range and if they're mostly male, a few of them will probably have heard of Jon Jones, and they'll know about what he does. He's a Conor McGregor-esque type figure. Maybe not as popular, but he transcends the sport in the way that he became a figure who's notable outside of the cage. If we're going to talk about figureheads, having him as a champion who will actually go out and put on really good performances whenever he does fight, in the meantime, while you're getting all of your ducks in a row, is a smart thing for the organization to do. Because, like it or not, Tom Aspinall does not have the same star power as Jon Jones, and very few other people do. Because Jon Jones has seniority in this sport, and he's been dominant for so long. I know that he's done a lot of things to get in the way of fights and to ruin his own opportunity to fight with his behavior, but every single time that he enters the cage, you can't tell me that these aren't Hall of Fame level performances that he's putting on. Dispatching these guys with ease, especially at heavyweight, since he's so much better than all of them. Whenever he gets a contender in there, he mixes them, and he does it perfectly. We haven't seen Jon Jones have any scary moments at heavyweight in the division with the hardest hitting people. Maybe it is because he fought a 42-year-old and a FIFA gamer with no grappling on him. But dude, these are still guys who made it to the top of the division. And if Jon Jones is retired from the sport, like we all want to see Jon Jones get stripped and retire from the sport, these same guys who are illegitimate defenses for Jon Jones then become the contenders who Aspinall is fighting. So people don't even think about that. Them shelving Jon Jones with the belt and letting Tom Aspinall be the interim title holder while they get this fight sorted out is a smart thing to do, and it guarantees that this big one that they have isn't just like haphazardly thrown together for a random time that won't garner it as much attention as it would have had with better planning. And I just think it's funny that fans accuse Jon of being a British cigarette, but they're obsessed with the idea of him getting stripped. And dude, again, I would never make concessions for Jon Jones' behavior, but I will separate his personal life from the isolated experience of watching him fight whenever I'm reviewing his footage. I won't ever talk about how he embodies the mentality and lifestyle of a champion, but he was a great champion as a fighter because he murders everyone. The next thing I want to discuss is TKO Holdings, who is the parent company of the UFC and the WWE. They now own both brands. This company is valuable to Dana White to be able to make deals with major corporations, since without partnering with an organization like this, he's just a dude with a pretty good brand. There's not really such thing as an independent product. Very few people are able to not sign to a major company to be able to make their dreams happen. Dana White is just a single person who has an entire fighting promotion that he inherited from two brothers who almost sold the company. He's in a very special seat as a commissioner of this promotion. It's not like the NFL, it's not like the NBA. He built this thing completely differently from the way that they were able to with more support and backing. The UFC is very special. It needs these types of groups that have friendships and networks with people like Turki Al-Sheikh to be able to do what it needs to do. It helps the company. And for all the new interest groups and lobbyists who are buying in pieces of the pie like The Rock down at the bottom right of the screen, the UFC hasn't censored itself or drastically changed since 2023. Because that's whenever all these deals went down, September 2023. Deals with these types of organizations make it so that fundraising is easier, and so that bigger deals and sponsors can be middled through these parent companies. I don't know for sure because it's not disclosed, but there's a pretty good guess that I can make that the fact that Dana White is partnered with TKO is the reason why things like the Sphere card from last year were possible. Events like TKO Boxing League also are gifts from Turki Al-Sheikh to Dana and his new business partner. And if we get more fights out of these deals, what is the problem? Dudes who are upset that the UFC is hosting a boxing event, did you even watch the road to UFC today? Those were actual MMA fights with Asian fighters. We're getting fights all of the time. And the UFC has money and the marketing power to put them on. I think that we're in a very healthy spot with the sport. All that needs to happen is just for time to pass and for more fights to get scheduled and to take place. And largely, our champions want to fight each other. I think that Jon Jones is just trolling people at this point. I think that he actually is going to fight Tom Aspinall. And there's no reason for him not to, as he's still active in the rankings. He's not just going to hold the belt and then retire. And come back to this video and flame me if he does. Does the business deal that went down in September 23 really bother you? Does that keep you up at night, knowing that Dana White made a deal with the TKO, and now they're both child companies, him and the WWE, and he's right there with Don Eladio, Vince McMahon, right there, and they're close business partners? Does that really bother you? Does the Nina drama stuff really bother you? Does it make it so that you don't want to watch Jack Della Maddalena versus Islam Makhachev? or John Jones versus Tom Aspinall whenever it finally happens? Or is it just because some guy with a bunch of subscribers told you that it should bother you? How does it really make you feel? I want you to really think about these things. And also consider how certain fighters have mobs in support of them. Charles, Alex, other fighters that I pictured at the bottom, they have fan bases who are drunk off their past accomplishments and blindly pick them to win any matchup. You should support your favorite fighters, but this level of glaze isn't warranted, especially not whenever they're fighting uphill battles. Once upon a time, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson was my favorite fighter, dude. And I knew in that Bilal fight that he was probably going to get worked. I was not illusioned into thinking that this striker-grappler matchup favored him at all, and that he would be victorious. Because I know that's just not how it goes with Bilal. But people still see matchups like Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira, and against all odds, they're still like, yeah, that left hook is going to land. And I don't understand how. Of course, it's a fist fight, but on paper, you know it's not about to go like that. And we see all the footage pointing in a different direction. This guy's getting dropped in every single one of his fights. Getting axe kicked by Arman Sarukian. On the ground, he's getting tied up by these mountain grapplers. Ilia Topuria is just more of that in all areas. But they're still saying that Charles Oliveira is going to sub Ilia Topuria as rage bait. And these are the same dudes who swear that the UFC is going bad because Jones hasn't been scheduled to fight Tom Aspinall. These fan bases don't care about MMA, and they just want likes and interactions, and they just want to be part of the negative hype trains that are going on and the circle jerks of hatred. These fan bases around certain fighters that I pictured below, they're absolutely insufferable, and it makes it hard to root for these fighters since you're now mixing with a bunch of pickles who have boy crushes on certain combat athletes. Some post about Ilia versus Charles. A guy will have a Mingying Zhang fan page and it'll say Mingying Zhang is the best. Mingying Zhang, China #1. Just like there's pro fighter mobs, there's also anti-fighter mobs. Fighters who are disliked. They have campaigns led against them by MMA meme pages and YouTubers. This is all a ploy on their part to build a community with hate to get more popular. People play right into it since they just want to be part of something. Fighters have a couple of boring fights and they get blacklisted by fans who don't care about the UFC and support who they'd want to hang out with more than the guy who's the best at fighting. I didn't think that this was the ultimate chill guy championship. I thought this was the ultimate fighting championship. We should be evaluating our champions on the basis of how well they fight and not their charisma or how likable they are. Do you get the job done? Do you put on good performances? And if we can find good performances, we should focus on those over maybe ones that weren't so shining. We shouldn't be reposting the low points of our champs. We should be celebrating the high moments. And if there are no high moments, we should just wait for them to get knocked out and support the other guy and not have to just dump on them as if they don't have good fights left in them still. Because all the people that are hated in the UFC have the potential to turn their careers around with a couple of performances because they have the skill for it. Every single person pictured at the bottom of the screen right there who has actual haters online can change the narrative around their careers in 2 fights. Because they're that good. Mario Batista, who I didn't put here, he has 11 fights in the UFC and 4 finishes. Merab has 1 finish, but he's the champion, so we give him a pass, even though they fight pretty much the same way. And because Batista did up Aldo, now the organization can't promote him because he's hated by fans. So that ruined his entire career. And it's not even his fault, really, because Aldo was the one who was cool and hanging out in those positions. Ian Gary, as we discussed before, he was trying to fight Sean Brady. And after already beating Protez not even too long ago, people are still praying that he gets taught a lesson since he's disliked. And they completely ignore how Bilal TKO'd Sean Brady. He walk-off TKO'd him, bro. And Bilal, poor Bilal lost his belt trying to fight the narratives painted against him as a fighter when he could have just game planned differently and did much better in his fight against JDM. He lost trying to battle the guys in the YouTube comment section as well as JDM in the octagon that night. That was not a good look for him, man. And he could have just wrestled more. And people would have cried, but he still would have had that belt if his entire plan was to not leave Montreal without it. So mate, through it all, be you. Don't become a blank canvas for guys like me to get on a mic and influence without doing some critical thinking first, at least, mate. Think about what you think about this, man. We all have agendas, and I don't remove myself from this. Most things any type of influencer does is directed at gaining clout. So as they're asking you to sign these petitions, or they're telling you that these people are gay on baseless claims, even if he is, what does it matter? Do you really care? I mean, bro, I'm just trying to see the fights. And that's really what, if you're actually about this like MMA fandom stuff, you just want to see the fights. Who cares about that other shit, bro? It's just lame and irrelevant. Watching the sport and reading the journalism produced online about major events and business deals from official outlets, I think is a better way to stay truly informed than to watch MMA YouTube, because there's way too many personal biases coming through these videos. You don't really get anything from the experience of watching MMA YouTube other than talking points to throw up in a group of people while talking fights so that you look smart. That's the wow guy at the bottom of the screen. Don't be a keyboard warrior like him. Don't be that person. Nobody likes the guy who speaks on things that they don't know about. Without having done any research before making an ultimatum, you look like an intense goober and making judgments and leaping to conclusions about things that we don't even know because they're still developing. So as you're trying to condemn certain athletes and certain events from happening because they go against your personal beliefs or the beliefs of your favorite MMA YouTuber who told you what to think, please try and understand that things happen in time and that the calendar is really working for us. Everybody's on board with the big fights that are happening in the interim. And then if we could end the year with Jones versus Aspinall, that would be amazing. Having come off of Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira and also Islam Makhachev versus Jack Della Maddalena. How happy would we all be? And we should be focusing on that positive outcome over how bad we perceive things to be right now. It's impossible for things to be as bad as these people are saying just because we have the potential for the fight. The fight can happen, it just hasn't yet. So let's just chill out, please. Look at how happy he is. He thought freely. So please, guys, I don't mean to call anyone out in this video if you feel like personally attacked by any of the verbiage that I've used. I just want this sport to be good and enjoyable to watch. And it's really not fun to watch. It's like eating Little Caesars, you know? Sometimes whenever I'm watching Aaron Blanchfield versus Macy Barber, it feels like I'm eating a Little Caesars pizza. Corey Sanhagen versus Davison Figueiredo. You'll eat a Little Caesars pizza out in public, and some guy will just walk by and be like, yeah, I think Little Caesars pizza is gross, and you shouldn't be eating that. And you may be enjoying the pizza, and that's literally how I feel trying to care about the UFC. Whenever online there's so much negativity. It's not ruining it for me, but I would definitely enjoy that Little Caesars pizza more if I didn't have a hating ass bitch in my ear telling me how bad they thought that it was, you know? So that's really just my take on the whole thing. That's a perfect analogy that I thought of at the end of the video. So you guys, thank you for sticking around to this point. If you made it here, please do like, comment, and subscribe. I will be back. Catch you.